Let me just explain a little bit about how I use these then. It might just give you a bit more creativity and a bit more thought as to, well, what scenarios could I use that in? Now, firstly, let me say I've been using these lights in different forms. This whole kind of strobist lighting is a fantastic website, strobist.com. David Hobby runs over there. That's really what opened my eyes to all this stuff. But I've been doing this for about 8 years now, using this kind of kit. I've done a lot of property, architectural work. I'll show you some images here. These are the kind of things that I am shooting with this lighting setup. Going into a home, I want to be able to take nice close detail shots, and I also want to be able to fill a room with light. Now, if I were taking wired lights, and sometimes I'm putting the light outside and shining it through the window. That's how you get a very natural lighting effect, it's as if it's a good sunny day. Well, there's extension leads going everywhere for that if I'm doing the powered version. Sometimes I'm in these properties and they don't even have mains power. They're on a showground, they're park homes, and I don't have power. Or maybe just the lights have been turned on from a generator, but plug sockets aren't working. So again, I'd be stuffed if I was turning up and I was expecting to run 3 or 4 big powered lights. These are so portable. As you can see, this is all this is. I've finished in my lounge and I want to go through to the kitchen. I just pick this up and go. There are occasions when I would put the light straight on top of the camera. It might be that in a bathroom I'm struggling for space, but to be honest, I tend to put this on the top of the door and just angle it around, and I can get this in a place where it's out of the way, not seen. But this kind of setup would easily get you going in a property. It is very, very rare that I even put these on half power. Hardly ever do they go on full power. And I say that just to show you that they're not underpowered. Don't think that these little units are any less than you would get from a big lighting unit. I can get more than enough juice out of these. For the price of them, it means I can have, say, 3 of these and get a more even light instead of one big chunky light being the main source. Now, my schoolwork is another area that over the years has been massive for me. I do a lot less now than I used to, but again, I would go into a school with these and I'm taking these kind of shots with it. So most likely they're portraits, they're close-in shots, and what I'm doing is, again, it wouldn't be feasible for me to go in with mains powered lights to try and do this stuff. I would have to take it very differently, and I would say, right, in this classroom, we're going to set up this pose. And I would then bring my lights in, I'd bring my students in, and I'd set all that up. But that's not my style. And I like to just be able to float around a room and go, yeah, I like that, what that kid over there is doing. I can get down low, and quite easily I can be subtle. Now, I don't use these umbrellas in that scenario, very rarely. They are in the bag. But what I can do, and in fairness, this is what I'm doing most of the time in my properties as well, is I am turning these lights around and I'm pointing them at the ceiling. I hinted at this earlier. Basically what you're doing with your umbrella is you're trying to soften this light. You're trying to make it as big as possible and as soft as possible. Now, if I point this at the ceiling, I'm creating, in effect, a massive big softbox on the roof. If I point it to a plain wall, same thing will happen. It's like a big softbox pointing in from the side. If I've got coloured walls like this, I can't bounce off it very well. So that would be, if I were in a room that was a dark walled, then I would need to be bringing umbrellas out. And I'd probably get a bigger umbrella than that. But yes, most of these shots that I'm showing you now were done with my camera. This setup using several of these lights, and what I tend to do is I'll bounce one, again, this is in my videos, I'll bounce one halfway between me and the subject. So if I've got someone sat at that chair just in front of me and they're looking at the teacher over here, I know what I want to take. So I don't have it next to me, I take it to the side so it's more natural, but I point it halfway on the ceiling between me and them, it bounces and it will light them up. But if I take that shot and look through, I can think, but the background's gone dark now. Because I've only lit this foreground space and the room itself isn't light enough for me, it makes it look very fake. So what I will do is I'll take the second camera on another stand and I will put that maybe in line with this student, and I'm pointing it straight behind them to light up the space behind. So all of a sudden with my two lights, one is on my subject, one is lighting up the background. And as I said then, I'm sitting here and I can adjust my powers accordingly. A little bit bright, no problem. So like I said, you can have up to 6 lights on different groups. So I can change the power of 6 different lights. Now I can have potentially an infinite amount of lights. They would just need to be on the same groups. There's only 6 options for the groups. Does that make sense? So if these two were both set up on the same group, then if I'm changing it on here to half power, both of these are going to work at half power. So you really can just grow this thing as big as you want. What about if you've got old lights? I've got several of these Mark IIs, the same Yongnuo light. What you could do with this, if you've got one, I can put this on a slave. So simply by me putting the mode on this to S1, then when this one triggers this, it's also triggering this one. If I want to, I can put this on manual mode and I can put a receiver on the bottom. Don't let me down. And again, when I fire on the camera, this is going. What it doesn't do is I don't have the ability to adjust the power setting on this one. So maybe you've got one of these and you've just bought how do I upgrade from having this with 2 trigger and receiver? So if you like this idea and you want to be adding a new light in, or maybe it's time to try an extra light, go for the new one. If you've just got this transmitter on your camera, yes, it will fire it. But if you pay the money and get one of these, then at least those two will talk to each other about power settings. This one, keep near you, use that as your distant one. That makes sense, doesn't it? So this one you'll have to do manually. This one you can do with your trigger.